Hello, BookTube. I have another mail haul, another sizable mail haul, a mail haul that really underscores, if you combine it with my last one, uh, the kind of out of control nature of the mail deliveries that come here, the books that accumulate in this one tiny little space. Uh, I was frazzled and tired when I made this morning's book haul because I'd been intermittently kept awake during the tiny amount of time in which I sleep by a sweet old dog who had poop issues. But I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed now. I had a whole day of fun and activity with a bunch of muscular teenagers, and the weather forecast in the morning predicted that it would be humid but entirely overcast all day. And since it was going to be entirely overcast all day, I did a little texting before I took off, strongly suggesting that maybe since it was going to be cloudy, the number one rule that governs the lives of these muscular teenagers, sun's out, guns out, might not apply, and that perhaps for a change they could wear shirts. Not tank tops, but actual shirts, so that when we stopped in our driving around adventures and had lunch at some place like Applebee's or Bertucci's, their delts would not be joining us. So that was nice. That was a nice change of pace. And then I came back to a pile of books. So I don't. This has been an active week, even for me. I thought we'd go through them together and see what kind of trouble we can get into. So we'll start with this first one here. Which is kind of small. Might be a paperback. Oh, is it a paperback? Oh, okay. This is Marie Benedict's The Other Einstein, a historical novel that I think is a paperback original. Yes, it is. It's a paperback original that comes out at the end of August. In 1896, the extraordinarily gifted Mileva Maric is the only woman studying physics at the elite school at Zurich, where she falls for charismatic fellow student Albert Einstein, who promises to treat her as an equal in both love and science. But as Albert's fame grows, so too does Mileva's worry that her light will be lost forever in her husband's shadow. And the author is a lawyer with a Boston College degree in history and art, who says that her book was written not to diminish Albert Einstein's contribution to humanity and science, but to share the humanity behind his scientific contributions. So the old adage, behind every great man there's a woman. And I remember, I think I got an advance copy of this, but I haven't read it. I haven't read anything about it either. I seem to recall that this particular woman behind the great man stood out a lot in the Walter Isaacson biography of Einstein that I read. So this is probably very fruitful grounds for historical fiction. Also a movie, right? Doesn't that lend itself to a movie? Anyway, that's a fine start. Let's see what else we have here. This ends with a couple of boxes. The boxes keep on coming as well. So what have we here? Oh, how interesting. Okay, this comes out in early October. I did not request this. This is London and the Southeast by David Zalay, who was the author of All That Man Is, that was shortlisted for the Booker Prize, right? He looks grim. I guess fame doesn't agree with him. In 2013, he was named one of Granta's best young British novelists. He lives in Budapest. And that's a heck of a cover. That is a heck of a cover. All right. So it's another novel by him. No idea. I don't know him. Like a lot of people, I think I was introduced to him by that shortlist, or long list. So I don't know where this book is. This an opportunistic reprint of something earlier? I don't know where it comes in, but I'll investigate. And then very nice. Okay. Oh, and it's lovely too. All right. This is the Other Presses, the finished copy of the Other Presses for 2,000 Years. Emile Sebastian's very autobiographical novel. Oh, great. And it's got it's a very pretty edition. That's very nice. And it's so this is going to come out. I believe I mentioned this on this channel before. This comes out, I think it's out already, isn't it? What have we got here? No, it comes out in mid-September. Okay, great. So, but it has the long piece by John Banville from the New York Review of Books accompanying it. Fantastic. Okay, wonderful. Glad to have it. Then let's move on here. Again, there's one particular book that I'm looking for that's just not coming. It's the classic case of a watch pot that never boils. Uh, Marita, The Spy Who Loved Castro, a memoir by Marita Lorenz. Soon to be a major motion picture. Huh. Few people can say that they've seen some of the most significant moments of the 20th century unravel before their eyes. Marita Lorenz is one of them. Born in Germany at the outbreak of World War II, Marita was incarcerated in a Nazi concentration camp as a child. In 1959, she traveled to Cuba, where she met and fell in love with Fidel Castro. Yet upon fleeing to America, she was recruited by the CIA to assassinate the Cuban leader. Torn by love and loyalty, she couldn't bring herself to slip him the lethal pills. Oh, how fascinating. How fascinating. There's no publication date here, so I'm assuming this is out already. I will look it up and see. That's a mighty good start, though. And then we've got this thing. It says requested material on the cover. Oh, good. Okay, great. Fantastic. We saw this. We saw the prequel to this. The first book in this series. Okay, this one's out in mid-October. This is Saigon Calling. The second graphic novel by the people who did Lovely Little War. Great. Fantastic. Okay, now I have them both. Marcelino Truong's first book about the early years of the Vietnam War, the graphic memoir Such a Lovely Little War, received star reviews in Publishers Weekly and Kirkus, and was named one of the season's best graphic novels by the New York Times. In this sequel, young Marco and his family moved from Saigon to London in order to escape the war following the assassination of the South Vietnamese president, for whom Marcelino's diplomat father was a personal interpreter. Oh, fantastic. So this is going to be not only the exile's plight, but also a portrait of the London of the day. That's great. I intentionally have held off on reading A Lovely Little War until I had them both. So now I do. And in addition to that, the people at Arsenal Pulp sent me their catalog, which is always nice. Who knows what else will be in here? I don't want you to get too excited. This does not mean the transformation of Steve from a superhero graphic novel lover to a non-superhero graphic novel lover. The Justice League will always have my heart, but I'm certainly happy to branch out. Let's see here. What is this next one? Oh, very good. Okay, again, not something that I requested, but and it's one of those that gives me a gigantic War and Peace style pub sheet without telling me when the book comes out, unless I search. Okay, late November. It comes out in late November, and this is called Ramp. It's by Stephen Stoll, and it's called Ramp Hollow: The Ordeal of Appalachia, which I have become, distantly but a little bit acquainted with the ordeal of Appalachia through reviewing a few books that have dealt with it. Let's see here. Appalachia, among the most storied and yet least understood regions in America, has long been associated with poverty and backwardness. But how did this image arise, and what exactly does it mean? In Ramp Hollow, Stephen Stoll launches an original investigation into the history of Appalachia and its place in U.S. history, with a special emphasis on how generations of its inhabitants lived, worked, survived, and depended on natural resources held in common. Ramp Hollow traces the rise of the Appalachian homestead and how it self-sufficiently resisted independence on money and industrial society arising elsewhere in the United States, until, beginning in the 19th century, extractive industries kicked off a scramble for Appalachia that left struggling homesteaders dispossessed of their land. And boy, that disassociation, that distance from the interconnected rest of the world, rest of the country, is certainly true. I have tramped all over the hills and hollows of Appalachia, and I have encountered worlds unto themselves. There's no other way to put it. You enter a dell or a high ramp or a high plateau on the hill or a mountain, and you encounter a world that is entirely self-sufficient. The roads don't go there. The tax collectors don't go there. The electricity doesn't go there. Some of the places in the hollows of Appalachia are amazing. But unfortunately, in the present day, this is what you're likely to see: absolutely denuded hills and tons of fracking. So this will be really interesting to read. In fact, now it's the late November. I'm also wondering if this would be interesting to pitch around. I'd certainly love to write about it. But anyway, that brings us to the boxes. So we'll get to those and see what's here. Boxes are always fun for me because they can be big things, and Steve very much likes big books. Okay, there we go. Perfect case in point. This is Odd Iron Westad's New History of the Cold War from Basic Books. Enormous tome of a thing that I have seen. I've seen on forthcoming lists and websites and whatnot, and I was kind of getting a little peeved, a little bell of the ball that I'm on good terms with the folks at Basic Books. I was getting a little bothered that I didn't have it, and now I do. Unless they sent me an advance copy and I just forgot. It's entirely possible. 2017, as you know, we've had a ringside seat for it. 2017 has been a rather banner year for book arrivals. I mean, look at this pile. Well, I'll show you at the end, the standard Steve end of the video pile of books. Look at that and then imagine that that's the second one of the day and that there's another day tomorrow. So let's see here. Born as a boy in Norway during the 1960s, the world that Odd Arne Westad grew up in was delimited by the Cold War. That's a mistake, of course. It's a grammatical error. The world that Odd Arsten Westad grew up in was not a boy in Norway during the 1960s, but that's all right. I know what it means. I think in the 21st century, we're just going to have to get used to knowing what the author means, because they're not going to be able to write what they mean. It split families, towns, regions, and countries. It spread fear and not a little confusion. Could you be certain that the nuclear catastrophe would not happen tomorrow, and what could set it off? I was talking about this with an old friend of mine just the other day, that we are back to asking that question every day. Could it happen? Could it happen? And that particular spot, that particular hard knot, somewhere right above your liver, that we all used to live with every day, is this going to be the day? The bright flash on the horizon, the end of everything. That went away for 25 years, and now it's back. And that's... I didn't miss it. Anyway, in this book, Bancroft Prize-winning scholar Westad offers a new perspective on a century when superpower rivalry and ideological war transformed every corner of the globe. While we traditionally think of the Cold War as a post-World War II diplomatic and military conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union, the author argues that the conflict must be understood as a global ideological confrontation, with roots in the Industrial Revolution and continuing implications for the world today. Wow. Okay, so this author is absolutely embracing the whole go big or go home. Wow, that's fantastic. And that also is, from the sound of it, different in its scope and ambition than any of the other Cold War books that I've read in 2017. I've read a ton of them because it's 2017. So that's fantastic. Wow, great. Okay, and then the final box. It's going to be tough to top that, but because that's a big, serious work of history. That's wonderful. Okay. All right. The other box is also a big, serious work of history. This is the finished copy of Ghost Empire by Richard Fidler. Few cities are as fascinating or brimming with life as Istanbul. So I just read that. I reread a biography just the other day of a historical warlord, and at one point when that warlord encounters Istanbul, Constantinople as it was then, the author of the book steps off the historical stage and just rhapsodizes about the city for a whole wonderful paragraph. In this book, this book is a brilliant reconstruction of the saga of power, glory, and invasion that is the 1,000-year story of Constantinople. Ghost Empire is a rare treasure, an utterly captivating blend of the historical and contemporary, narrated by a master storyteller. The story is a revelation, a beautifully written ode to a lost civilization combined with a warmly observed father-son adventure far from home. Oh, so okay. This comes out in early September, so it's not. It's going to be a little bit more, a little different than just a history of Constantinople. It's going to be that's interesting. An ambitious combination of autobiography and history. Those can sometimes be, they can misfire, of course. They can also be really, really good. And that also takes it out of direct head-to-head competition with Bettany Hughes' Istanbul, which is incredibly good and is a straightforward history. So that's good. So you get them both. Wonderful. All right. Well, there we go. So we have Ghost Empire about Constantinople. We have the Cold War, world history. We have Ramp Hollow about Appalachia. We have Saigon Calling, graphic novel set in London. And then we have Marita, the spy who loved Castro. I just love my job. We have For 2,000 Years in a beautiful new edition. Then London and the Southeast, a novel by a hot young novelist who seems unhappy. And then The Other Einstein, about the formative woman in Einstein's life. That's great. That's fantastic. And I'm hoping, I know this is heretical, but I'm kind of hoping this is it for today. So I'll see you soon, BookTube. Thank you.